What have you found is the best way to train your folks, the folks that you work with in the courts, on how to use the new technology?
I usually have to start small, pick some of the more like tech savvy staff, show them how it works, get them comfortable with it, and then they can kind of work with the people that are more technology Luddite-ish, that want to stay away from it.
How do you identify those people?
Just who doesn't call you for problems, and then you usually hear of like, well, Peggy Sue helped me with this problem. So then it's like, okay, well, that's probably a good person to get on board and show them how the system works, get them into that nook and cranny type of stuff.
I love the fact that you used Peggy Sue in that.
I am actually still trying to figure it out because I'm Peggy Sue.
Okay.
So.
Oh, me? I resemble that remark.
A look at the MicroLED market, training users on new systems, and AVWeek's January Index report. All that and more next on AV Week. This is AV Week, episode 759, recorded Friday, March 6th, 2026. If the price is right. This is AV Week, your weekly wrap-up of the biggest news and stories in the AV and the IT world. ISE's big Barcelona expansion just got a whole lot more expensive. Pro AV enters 2026 ahead of last year, but uncertainty is putting the brakes on smaller projects. Robots are quietly taking over television production studios, and Sennheiser picks Nashville for its new American home. Let's get into it. First up, if you've been keeping an eye on ISE's big Barcelona expansion, you might want to brace yourself. Construction cost of Hall 0, the new wing at the Fira de Barcelona Gran Via, has nearly doubled. The Catalan government just published a new financing plan. Hall 0 was originally budgeted for around 200 million euros. It's now projected at 365 million euros. Now, what's driving it? Higher construction costs, land expansions, and a larger build area than originally planned. Now, why does this matter to you? Hall 0 adds 60,000 square meters of exhibitions and office space across 2 floors. That is a 25% expansion of the entire ISE show floor. Now, the show is currently bumping up against its capacity limits. Now, this expansion is what will allow ISE to keep growing. It's also a scheduling hit. Hall 0 won't open until 2028. The original due date was 2027. The delay was made for precautionary reasons. Total investment across both Fira de Barcelona venues over the last 10 years, 615 million euros, financed by a mix of public funds and loans from the European Investment Bank. ISE says demand from exhibitors and visitors is exceptional. They're calling Barcelona the world capital of AV systems integration. The bottom line, this show isn't slowing down. It's just getting bigger, and it's going to cost a bit more to build. AVWeek just dropped its January Pro AV Business Index, and the headline is this: the industry is still growing, just carefully. The AV Sales Index came in at 55.6 for January. That's a tick down from December's 56.6. This is why it matters. Anything above 50 signals expansion or growth. January's reading is well above where we were a year ago, which was 51.5. We are entering 2026 from a stronger position than we entered 2025. That is the good news. The employment picture also tells a similar story. The AV employment index dropped 1 point to 54.4, but still in the positive area. Hiring isn't necessarily accelerating. The bad news: one North American integrator put it plainly about what is holding the industry back. Quote unquote, economic uncertainty is making customers pull back, especially churches. Business and government projects are already in the pipeline. They're still moving forward, not a big deal. Small day-to-day work from local schools, houses of worship, that has fallen off because, as they said, no one knows what's going to happen next. The takeaway is Pro AV isn't contracting, but the growth is uneven. Enterprise, government, that's where the momentum lives right now. So if you're chasing small one-off projects, you're going to feel a little bit of headwinds. If you're positioned in large planned deployments, you are in the right lane. A landmark new report is putting hard data behind something the industry has felt coming for years. Robots are taking over television production. The Catalan Audiovisual Society released the first ever audiovisual robotics report. More than 85% of television studios now use robotic cameras in news production. AVNation excluded from that because we don't use robots. Remote camera operation is cutting operational costs by up to 40%. This isn't just an efficiency story, though. Editor Johan Roses notes that robotics is expanding what's creatively possible. Precisely repeatable camera movements, seamless integration with CGI and game engine environments, and content that was not achievable before. Now, when you layer in AI, the combination is producing complex content in highly automated ways at a scale and speed that was once considered science fiction. For AV integrators and broadcast engineers, this is a signal. Clients asking about robotic camera systems today are your mainstream buyers for tomorrow. Following their completion of the merger, Yorktel-Kenley is making it official. The combined company is now moving forward under a single global brand, Kenley. CEO Ken Scaturo says the unified brand reflects both companies' shared values and sets a clear direction forward. Here's a scale. More than 2,500 clients, 27 offices worldwide, operations spanning more than 100 countries. Existing customers keep their account teams, but they gain access to a broader solutions portfolio and delivery everywhere they operate. Long-term strategy is pointed at expanded managed services, AI-driven support models, and end-to-end lifecycle ownership for enterprise clients. And finally, Sennheiser is packing their bags and heading for Nashville, Tennessee. Global audio manufacturer announced it's relocating its America's regional hub to a facility called Rock Nashville, a 600,000 square foot production campus built to serve the live entertainment industry. This is a first. Sennheiser is the very first company to partner with Tennessee's Department of Economic and Community Development to locate within Rock Nashville specifically. The move creates at least 25 new jobs and represents a $2.5 million investment in the Tennessee economy. Governor Bill Lee put it simply, there is no city in the U.S. better suited for Sennheiser than Nashville. Actually, it does kind of make sense. Nashville is already home to a whole lot of artists, engineers, production partners that form Sennheiser's core customer base. Planting their America's hub right inside that ecosystem is a pretty smart move. That's your AV News. Stick around for this week's roundtable where we will tackle the rise of micro-LED and best practices in training your staff on new systems. This is AV Week. All right, welcome back with us to discuss the news and information and have a couple of conversations. First and foremost, a young lady I've known for a long time and finally convinced her to come on the show, Branding Clay Johnson from PTZ Optics. Welcome, ma'am.
Hi, guys. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. Got to see her at the Alamo E4 event in Anaheim. I will also get to see her again at the Alamo E4 event in DC by the time you're watching this in roughly a week. So we'll be there the 17th of March in the DC area. Also with me is my buddy, Mr. Brock McGinnis from Nationwide. Welcome, sir.
Hello, Tim. Thank you for having me back.
Absolutely. Good to see you as always. And a young man up Wisconsin way, and I won't hold it against him that he's a Packer fan, Zach Germain from Wisconsin Courts. Welcome, sir.
Tim, glad to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Absolutely. Thank you. And in case you've never listened to AV Week before, I am a huge Chicago Bears fan. And if you're listening overseas, the Bears and the Packers are a bit like Man City and Man United for those of you that are in the Premier Soccer League. So I'll just leave it at that. First story comes to us from our friends over AV Magazine. This has been building a little bit for the last couple of years. According to Omdia MicroLED Display Market Tracker, global micro-LED display revenue is set to double this year. Doubling sounds a lot. Yes, technically from a percentage standpoint, it's a lot. But it's going from 52 million to about 105 million USD. Fine. Okay, groovy. That's not the story. The story is that by 2032, this tracker says it's going to hit $6.8 billion. There's a reason I'm in content creation, folks, and I am a journalist and I do this. Math is not my strong suit. Yes, I probably could have put this into AI and asked what the percentage is, but holy crap, that's a big percentage. This is more than just the sales of it. It's the story of where the technology is headed. Micro LED is winning in places where conventional displays simply cannot compete. Right? You've got really large tile displays. You've got places like smart glasses. You've got automotive displays. You've got stretchable and bendy displays. They are going to be everywhere. So yeah, $6 billion in the next 6 years. That is a lot. Brock, I'm going to start with you on this. When it gets to this point, where does a forecast like this or any other forecast, how does that actually, or when does that actually change your planning, change your design, change when you're talking to your clients and trying to solve problems for them, but also future-proofing them a little bit, right? You don't want your installations to be out of sync or obsolete in a year. Certainly, they want some longevity here. But at what point do you go, okay, now it's time to at least consider this technology?
I think, Tim, that the change has been now we can afford to consider it.
Okay.
So as the manufacturers have been able to make more and more of the micro stuff, and are offering 0.6 mil pixel pitch and 0.7 and 9 mil pixel pitch, and the price has come down 50% or more compared to 2 years ago. Clients can afford to look at it, and my perspective as a salesperson is the client should buy the absolute best thing that they can afford. And if they can afford more resolution, that's awesome. If you can get all of the advantages of LED in the resolution you want now on a smaller display, because you've got way more pixels per square inch, that's better too. And the advantages that come with that. And I have to think that in terms of the forecast, what they're what they're projecting is that LED is going to replace a lot of the OLED displays that are currently, in my watch and on my phone. But from a business display, public display perspective, this has all been about reductions in cost, and people look at those amazing Sony and Samsung and other screens at trade shows, and they go, wow, and then find out they're $1.5 million. But they're not now. They're 150 grand. So that makes a big difference. And folks should buy the biggest display they can afford, and they should buy the highest resolution display they can afford. And that technology perspective will never let them down.
Zach, same kind of question. Is at what point in a technology's evolution, right? And you can talk directly to micro LED, or you can talk to something else here. But at what point in a technology's evolution do you guys start considering it as an option, as something that you can start putting into your RFPs?
For us, it's about the affordability, because all of our projects are taxpayer funded. So if we can't afford it, we don't even look at it. When I started here 20 plus years ago, we had projectors in the courtroom, but we had windows everywhere. So we could not get, a bright enough projector to work with the screen in the courtroom effectively. With our two current refreshes, we kind of settled on a 98-inch display. And if it can get up, 120, 140 inch as a nice micro LED screen that's affordable, that would be awesome. But it's more about what we can afford, to stay within our budget to keep updating our courtrooms.
That makes sense. Brandy, y'all don't sell micro LEDs, so it's unfair to ask you that question. But you do consistently, because you're a manufacturer, you consistently come out with new products and new technologies. How have you guys found the best solution for educating people like Brock and also people like Zach about these new technologies as they are evolving, as they are coming out? As we a bunch of us just got back from ISE. There was a bunch of stuff there that is shipping this quarter, or shipping certainly by Infocom in the second quarter. How have you guys found the best solution for educating folks on new technology as it's evolving?
Something that we have for our, our integrators as well as our end users is something we call Tech Connect. We do that quarterly. And it consists of myself and our international sales director, as well as John Roberts, who he's our our media guy, like our face, if you will. And he's like really smart. So like we all get together in Downingtown, Pennsylvania at our headquarters, and we host a Tech Connect and to educate everybody on what is coming, what is new. Because education is super important. We're also always having trainings. You know, and everybody learns different, right? So like you really need to do things in different forms and fashions, right? So some people like just an email with an with instructions. Some people need to hear it. Some people need to touch it. So, we are out and about visiting dealers, and, I have an integrator wanting me to go to their end user. It's in Lexington. I'm like, sure, I'll drive there. So like we kind of do everything. I like to educate. Anything we can do to make it easier for our end user and our integrators, we are willing to get out there and do.
All righty. Second topic is something that most of us on this call and most of us, in general, will deal with, and that is unified communications. A new analysis from TechTarget draws a sharp line between deploying a UC platform and actually transforming how an organization communicates. I know, it is shocking. The argument is pretty straightforward. It's one a lot of IT and AV professionals already know, that deploying the technology is sort of the easy part. Getting people to use it correctly, consistently, is actually where the work comes in. And this is where I remind folks, again, if you've never listened, I used to be a technology manager for a community college here out of St. Louis. I am 100% going to lean on that for a second. Now, the article outlines a pretty basic framework. Three things. You map the real user workflow before you configure anything. You build a targeted training program. It goes by role rather than one size fits all. And you measure adoption of the actual systems. Zach, I'm going to pick on you because you are the IT AV guy that's boots on the ground here. What have you guys found, really? This is a pretty basic question. What have you found is the best way to train your folks, the folks that you work with in the courts, on how to use the new technology or how to use a new court system?
I usually have to start small, pick some of the more like tech savvy staff, show them how it works, get them comfortable with it, and then they can kind of work with the people that are more technology Luddite-ish, that want to stay away from it. When I started here, people would say, like, my husband doesn't let me touch the remote, and that would make me laugh. But it's like, okay, that's at home, but when you're here, you need to press the buttons to make the system work, and you just gotta kind of keep chipping away at those type of people and get buy-in from as many staff as you can.
Here's the fancy schmancy term of what you just said. Early adopters, right? That's what you're talking about, right? The folks that aren't afraid to touch the technology, that aren't afraid to touch the touch panels. How do you identify those people?
Just who doesn't call you for problems, and then you usually hear of like, well, Peggy Sue helped me with this problem. So then it's like, okay, well, that's probably a good person to get on board and show them how the system works, get them into that nook and cranny type of stuff.
I love the fact that you used Peggy Sue in that example. All right, Brandy, same kind of question here. Is educating, your folks and educating. Well, let's start with your employees, right? You guys come up with new products. How have you found the best way to educate folks internally?
So I am actually still trying to figure it out because I'm Peggy Sue.
Okay.
So I'm the one that I literally and I told my team, I'm like, you guys need to hurry up and do this, because we went to this thing called Bitwarden. I'm like, or IT is going to murder me because they're tired of me calling, I don't know what my master password is. I don't know how to get in. I can't do this. Why are you changing things? But I think, like I said, with me, I am big on, going to the learning style of the person that I'm training.
Yeah.
Some people have to touch, feel, do, see it be done. Some people, you can tell them how to do it. Some people need to read it. And just knowing that learning style of the person that I'm dealing with. I have a really good tech savvy team. So luckily I rely on them a lot to teach me.
I'm going to relay a story that I may have done once or twice. A long time ago, Chuck Espinoza, who works for Aurora Multimedia now, Chuck, just really quickly, is one of the best educators in the industry. That is Tim's opinion, but that is a widely held opinion. Chuck worked for AVIXA at the time, and I was in Virginia at their headquarters, and Chuck was getting ready for one of his like multi-day sessions, teaching on audio, and he was preparing the material, and a little bit what Brandy has said is he was customizing it based on who was going to be in the class, and he was positioning them in the class based on how they learned. And he didn't ask them the question. Chuck would stalk these people, probably wrong word, but Chuck would stalk these people on social media, and he would see what they post. He would see how they looked in the camera. He would do all these things, and he could tell from their social media post what type of learner they were, whether it's tactile, whether it's visual, whether it's auditory. If they're a visual learner, he would put them a little bit closer to the screens, right? Because they got big screen. If they were auditory learners, he would put them farther away from the class. Tactile people, he would put right in the very, very front, because a lot of times when he was teaching class, he had visuals that he would hand out and stuff like that. But what Brandy's talking about is exactly true in a bigger sense. So if you can figure that out, that's fantastic. If you can't, then you got to do a little bit more simpler way, and you got to find Peggy Sue.
Like when I am doing a training, I always bring, it's called Model Magic for those tactile people. So it's like Silly Putty and Play-Doh Had a Baby.
Okay.
People love it because tactile people, when they're playing with their hands, they're paying attention more.
Yeah.
And they're learning more. And a lot of technical people are tactile people.
All right, Mr. McGinnis, you get the last one on this one. What is the best way that you guys have found when you come in, you put in a brand new system for higher education, for a new corporate office? What is the best way you have found to train folks on a brand new system?
I was hoping to ask you, Tim.
I do have an answer. I was just going to give you guys,
The challenge is having a room full of people that actually want to be there and want to learn. And, I had a client back in the day, a large chemical company that was making a transition from doing all of their meetings on speakerphones to doing all of their meetings on Cisco video conferencing systems.
Okay.
And so all of a sudden the rooms got really complex, and there were these touch panel things. And this particular chemical company, I think that the average age of their employee was Windows 98.
Oh,
it was a really, you would think that chemical people would be brilliant, but these people were, they did their jobs. They did the same job for 30 years. And the biggest question is, so why are we changing this? Can we turn the camera off and just use this as a speakerphone? We did a series of lunch and learns over the course of 3 months. And so we would have a trainer go out, David Menzel, that used to work for me. He's just a spectacular guy, very patient, soft-spoken, that really nice man that everybody likes.
Yeah.
And the company had sandwiches and stuff for people. Everybody got to touch the touch panel. Everybody got to go through the process of starting a new meeting and initiating a new meeting. We would disconnect the system, and then they learned how to reconnect. This is how you put it in your calendar. This is how you remember to invite the room, because you had to invite the room to the meeting. And so we were offering tattoos for people's forearms if they needed a way to remember. But it's introducing a new UC platform and having training. It starts with the attitude of the user. And first convincing them that this is going to be good for them. It's not just there for someone else. And then going through stuff, letting them work with it themselves, and then going through the training again. and all the little aha balloons go off about, oh yeah, okay, yeah, I didn't hear that the first time that I did it. And it's I have tremendous admiration for all those teachers that taught us how to read and write, because the level of patience involved, learning to read and write is not a lot different than learning a new software program.
Yeah.
I am one of those self-learner types. I am forever being shown features, even in things like Teams, that I had no idea existed because nobody ever trained me. I don't watch the videos. Videos take way too long. I read an instruction manual. But as Brandy said, everybody learns different. And so finding ways to allow everybody to go through it, it's a thing. And as an integrator, we've learned that the more training that we're able to offer initially, over a longer period of time with the same people over and over again, and make that easy to do, the faster the adoption and acceptance and use, and then maximization of the system. Because we were selling this chemical company really expensive Cisco video conferencing systems. And when people loved them, they bought a whack more. And it was well worth the time invested in that. But frankly, Tim, I think it as technologists, the translation to the user, and the encouragement, and a lot of the whys behind why we press this button and why we don't press that button, is the most difficult part of our job.
I would agree with that. And I wasn't kidding, Buck. I did have something. I just want to let you guys go first. Again, I was a technology manager for a community college outside of St. Louis 150 years ago, right? And every fall and spring in-service for our instructors, us technologists, we got about a half an hour session during that in-service week to explain to them how to use the various types of rooms. I say that because we had a 7-year refresh cycle, about 330 rooms, but we were going through a 7 years of updating and standardizing on a particular platform. So when we started doing that, the faculty, actually the head of the faculty, they're like, hey, that's really great. Thanks so much. By the way, none of our folks know how to use it. I mean, yes, there's an on button and there's an off button and there's a projector button and there's this, right?
Yeah.
But they don't know what it means. Okay, I'm going to move beyond the fact that your really smart PhD doesn't know what the word on means, and we'll go from there. So they gave us a half an hour every single semester. And it was a great experience because it first of all, it forced us as the people who designed and put out the RFP to design it more simply for people who weren't us, right? To design for those folks, but it gave us feedback, right? So we could make the next iteration better and the next iteration more simple. And at the end of the semester, we would meet with the head of the faculty plus a few of their Peggy Sue's, Zach, right? Their early adopters, to give us feedback. How did this work? What was the interface like? Was it simple to use? How many calls did you get? Because I knew how many calls we got, right? I got that in the log, but I had no idea how many times they were helping their cohorts. So that bunch of information kind of cobbled together gave us the opportunity to make just quite frankly made better systems and had better adoption over the years. It eventually got to the point we still did, by the time I left Lewis and Clark, we still did the in-service presentations, but we got fewer and fewer questions during those. It was a nice, kind of a combination of about three or four different things.
Yeah, Tim, great point with the building on the same feature set over and over again. We've essentially had the same panel since 2010, where there's a tab for audio from the microphones, there's a tab for video controls to pick the video source, a tab for teleconferencing, and a tab for video conferencing. That has stayed true since 2010. It just gets, updated look, feel, color scheme, but it's the same button for the same feature. And my audio speech is less than 5 minutes. So here's audio, here's how you raise lower mic and mute it. And then everyone's like, yep, we're good, go on to the next thing. And then I can kind of spend more time on, here's the video controls, why you need to pick the certain source, and here's how you do a video conferencing or teleconferencing.
Nice.
So yeah,
Awesome.
you have the same base, and you just kind of keep refreshing that as you move forward.
You know, with at PTZ Optics, that's the one of the things, like, you don't see us come out with like new hardware frequently, but all we do improve the current hardware we have frequently, right? There's always improvements, and then that way you're not having to buy hardware every couple of years to get the latest and greatest.
All right, guys, thank you so much. That'll be fantastic. Brandy Clay Johnson, thank you, ma'am. How do people connect with you or PTZ Optics?
So you can find me on LinkedIn at Brandy Clay-Johnson, and PTZ Optics at www.ptzoptics.com.
All right, very good. Mr. McGinnis, thank you, sir. As always, good to see you. How do people connect with you or nationwide?
They can find me on LinkedIn. I'm there relatively often. I'm Brock at nationwideav.com, and lately you'll see a lot of posts from me about the brand spanking new Canadian, the Professional Audiovisual Society of Canada, PAVC, an association we put together to help people elevate their careers, get them some training that is not employer dependent, which creates some job mobility within the market. And we're trying to get the whole group of people who identify as being an AV under one tent. So it doesn't matter if you're a tech manager in a courthouse, you work for a manufacturer, you sling cable on a job site, you're up on a hoist, rigging speakers for live entertainment. It's all AV, and we all have an awful lot in common and share a lot of technologies, if not methodologies. And it's we launched last fall. It's been really, really gratifying to see the response from the marketplace. People have to buy memberships, and they are buying memberships by the hundreds in a little market like Canada. So it's we've got a good thing going on.
Good. I'm glad to see it. And they had a fantastic event at ISC this year. So we'll look forward to seeing more.
Another one coming up at Infocom.
Okay, excellent.
And we've got half a dozen across Canada this year. That typically a little more elaborate guest speakers, roundtable discussions, and giving people a chance to network outside of their normal AV community.
Yeah, all right. It's a really, really great organization. So,
yeah.
And they've done a fantastic job with it. So you check it out. Zach, thank you, sir. How do people connect with you if they are so inclined?
I'm on LinkedIn, Zach-Tremaine. I will also be at Infocom this year, so anyone can look for me there. I should be trolling around the floors quite a bit. Or if you pull a Brock and speed through Waukesha, I might see you in one of our courtrooms. So
there you go.
Apparently there's a golf course somewhere around Waukesha.
My favorite place to get to your part of the world is to take the ferry into Milwaukee. From Michigan, we can pop into Michigan and take the ferry across. And I'm really fond of your part of America.
I will be at Infocom as well, and NAB.
Well, I assumed as much. I mean,
Yeah.
I will be there, but that's just an assumption.
I know. That's what I was just assuming, and then they, said it. So I'm like, well, maybe I should.
But we've got a couple of things to do before then. Number one, first of all, if you want to, don't follow me on the socials. If you want, I tell you what, I have been writing things on LinkedIn. If you want to read things that have nothing to do with technology, you can follow me on LinkedIn.
I love your things. I read them every time. They're amazing and insightful.
Thank you very much. But go by the website AVNation.tv. That's AVNation.tv. You will find this program and a host of others. You can check out our coverage of ISE still. And in about a week, you'll be able to check out our coverage of NAB, which happens the end of April, which is one of the places that at least Brandy's company, PTZ Optics, will be at. I mentioned that Brandy and I will be heading to DC on the 17th of March for the Alamo E4 event there. I'm also, because I love Vegas so much, I really do. I just need more Vegas. I'm heading to ISC West on the 25th of March. and of course, Infocom. That'll be number 4 for me, Brock. That'll be my 4th trip to Vegas this year. Yeah. So, but go by the website, avnation.tv. That's avnation.tv. Thanks so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. As all the time we have for AV Week.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
This is AV.
This
is AV Nation.
This is AV Nation.